Welcome to our discussion of sexual orientations. In this chapter, we're going to cover the factors that can contribute to determining which sex we're attracted to. So first off, I thought I would start with Kinsey's sexual orientation rating scale. He developed this scale so that he could ask respondents about their sexual orientation in a really concrete way. And one of the things that has really stuck from Kinsey's research, that was conducted in the late 40s, early 50s, is this idea that there isn't two sexual orientations, heterosexual or homosexual, or even three, with bisexual being square in the middle. Instead, he conceived of sexual orientation as being along a continuum. And so a person who scores in the 0 category would be exclusively heterosexually oriented. A person who scores a 6 would be exclusively homosexually oriented. And then the numbers in between express, different variations on, which sex they are more or less attracted to. With 3 implying it would be equal, attracted to their same sex just as much as they're attracted to the other sex. And it's not just sexual attraction, it's romantic attraction. It is sort of what we like to call communal attraction. So, like wanting to be with that person, be around that person, those kinds of things. So it's not just about sex. That's something that's really important to clarify when we talk about sexual orientation, because there are a lot of factors that go into, attraction to somebody else, right? And part of it is romance, part of it is sex. Part of it is just pure intimacy, where you're really, like as Sternberg defined intimacy, right? Who you really want to get to know and who you would really want to know you well, in that sort of special way that we have for a person who we are exclusively attracted to, those kinds of things. So it's a multi-layered definition. Now, over on the 6 category, I put the statistics on how many men and how many women identify as exclusively homosexual, like only attracted to their same sex. And when you define it like that you have to be a 6 on the Kinsey scale, about 3 to 4% of males and about 1 to 2% of females are in that category. Now, if you broaden the definition to being a 4, 5, or 6, then we find that there are more women who identify themselves in that range of 4, 5 to 6 than there are men who identify themselves like that. But if we talk about just exclusively in that 6 category, we see that it's more common for males. And I wanted to point that out because there are some things that we're going to talk about with regard to biological bases of sexual orientation that might help to explain why there might be a sex difference in these polar ends, being exclusively heterosexual and being a 0 on the Kinsey scale, or being exclusively homosexual and being a 6 on the Kinsey scale. So don't forget these proportions as we go on. All right, so let's start talking about the theories that we have for how our sexual orientations emerge. So like what would cause a person to be sexually attracted, romantically attracted, communally attracted to people of their same, the other, or any sex? Okay, so first off, there's biology. If we look at the animal world, we find that there is a percentage of every species that's been studied, really, that are display homosexual acts or will choose exclusively a partner of their same sex to mate with. So they find that about 8% of sheep will pair up with somebody of their same sex. This is almost exclusively a male behavior among sheep, where they will partner up and will pair bond. And they don't attempt to mate with the females and things like that. So it appears that they've chosen each other. So it's about 8% of the males in a sheep population. Among albatross, especially when there is a lack of males available to nest with, albatross females will pair up and they pair bond for life. And so their entire life, they will be lesbian albatross who, they lay eggs together, they make a nest together, and the eggs aren't fertilized, so they don't have babies from those eggs, but they nurture each other. They nurture the eggs every year, hoping that they're going to have chicks. And so this is thought to be maybe a behavior that emerges in certain contexts. Among dolphins, there have been observations of, especially among the male dolphins, so that's why I labeled it gay acts, male dolphins who do mounting behavior of each other. They'll rub their erect penises against each other, things like that. And what they think this is about is asserting cohesion in the pod, showing caring and commitment to the pod members. So it's thought to be a useful behavior for the pod. And then I pulled this story, and there are a lot of stories like this around the world where the penguins, they're attempting to get the penguins to breed in captivity, and oftentimes the penguins will pair off with their same-sex partner and refuse to mate with the opposite sex members of the species who are available. They're there, they could mate with them, but they're choosing to be with their same-sex partner. And, it's disappointing to a zoo who wants to breed, but it's really interesting to researchers who are interested in, if sexual orientation is a biologically based characteristic, we should see it across animals. And what we've found is of the about roughly 450 species that have been studied, they have found homosexual behavior in virtually all of them. Now, the degree of homosexual behavior varies from, like I said, with the dolphins, where it might be for bonding purposes, but it's not really about, romantic attraction or something like that. And I'm not sure if dolphins have romantic attractions to each other anyway. So I'll just say maybe sexual attraction, to possibly, with the sheep, the male sheep who pair up, that might be literally their preference, their choice. That's how they feel. I don't know if, I always feel bad about anthropomorphizing animals because I don't know what exactly they think or they feel or believe. But the fact that among the sheep males, they partner up and they make that choice, and it's not like they're just doing it to sort of make sure that the other one doesn't feel aggressive towards them or something like it seems to be with the dolphins. We have these variations across animals with regard to these kinds of behaviors. So it's hard to really draw too much inference, but all I can say is that if this is a biological trait that we would be looking for, we would expect to see it across animals, and we do see that. All right, now something else that we would want to talk about is the role of prenatal hormones, and whether prenatal hormones can determine whether, what our sexual attractions might be, our romantic attractions, and things like that. Don't know why this isn't giving us a preview, but I'm going to go ahead and stop here. I'm going to let you watch the video first, and then I will come back and I will explain to you how to look at your own 2D, 4D ratio and some other things about what the video says. So I will see you after you watch the next video in the playlist.